welcome to this newscast about the Han Dynasty. First up, what happened throughout the Qin Dynasty? Before the Han Dynasty, there was the Qin Dynasty. Two emperors came to rule the short dynasty, which lasted for 15 years, from 221 BC to 207 BC. After the death of the first emperor, Emperor Qin Shi Huang, the dynasty started to fall apart throughout the reign of the son Qin Shi Huang Huai. The Qin Dynasty managed to end a 500-year lasting war between the six states in China in 230 BC to 221 BC and create a stable government. He then created a centralized country, but he became to be a tyrant, creating high taxes and lack in important aspects of the community such as education. Now comes start of the Han Dynasty. This dissatisfied the people, creating a perfect opportunity for the rebellion leader Liu Bang and soon-to-be Emperor Gaozu to lead on a 5-year long-lasting civil war. He recruited people upon their ability, not their wealth. With this army, Liu Bang, Prince of Han, defeated the Qin army in the Valley of Wei in 207 BC and the capital in 206 BC. He then created the capital city of the Han Dynasty, Chang'an, in 202 BC. What made the Han Dynasty more pleasant to the peasants? The Han Dynasty reunited China after the Civil War. This was accomplished by replacing the provinces and kingdoms' non-hereditary governors with more official royal governors. The strong legalism of the Qin Dynasty was replaced with the Han's Confucianism, which was based upon the fact that a successful government is only formed upon the agreement of the people and not when they are under force. Education based upon Confucianism was also contributing to the factor of the happiness of the people. The Han Dynasty redistributed the land amongst the peasants. They evolved a civil exam which tests the potential amongst the community on becoming bureaucrats. The Han Dynasty eliminated the forced labor and high taxes. How did the Han Dynasty expand? Here you can see the Qin Dynasty, the boundaries. The Great Wall is up here, and the yellow highlighted area is the Qin Dynasty. Now the Han Dynasty. Here clearly identified, there is a large expansion. The Great Wall here, but the boundaries are way past the Great Wall. Silk Road. This Silk Road was one of the biggest achievements in the Han Dynasty and probably the largest cause of the expansion in China, as it was a road to trade and industry. It got its name from the trade of silk from China to the Roman Empire. It was basically a Europe-Asia highway. The Silk Road also caused the Han capital to be flooded with Westerners. The Silk Road was also an indication that the Han Dynasty had caused China to move forward with new inventions to fit the society's needs. As shown before, a lot of expansion occurred in the Han Dynasty. This expansion was led on by a few great emperors. Firstly came Emperor Han Dynasty, who was the fourth emperor of the Han Dynasty. He led under the saying, "Do nothing in order to govern." For example, the taxes placed amongst the people were only at 3% of their harvest income, which compared to the Emperor Qin, who demanded 50%, was luxury. Still, he paved an excellent road for Emperor Wudi, his son, to rise to the throne. Then came Emperor Wudi. Throughout his rule between 141 and 86 BC, a few victories led on to China regaining control of territories in southern China and Vietnam. China created contacts in Korea and in western regions of Central Asia. In 101 BC, the conquest of Fergana enabled the Chinese to seize a number of valued horses, as well as the control of trade routes running north and south of the Taklamakan Desert. The emperor expanded westward to the Tarim Basin by sending around 2 million people to colonize those areas. The outcome led to the Han controlling the caravan traffic amongst the Silk Road. There, 45 feet high watchtowers also added to the safety expansion in the Han Dynasty. By the end of the 2nd century BC, Chinese armies had invaded northern Vietnam and northern Korea. A system called the tributary system was also invented. This system implied that non-Chinese states were allowed to stay independent in exchange for the symbolic acceptance of the Han overlordship. Other aspects such as the agriculture and trade improved due to the new iron tools and the irrigation systems, as well as the constant silk productions and the new Han inventions such as the seismograph, paper, and the compass. Plus, the Han community was very clever when it came to intermarriages. Emperor Wudi expanded China by creating imperial bureaucracy. This bureaucracy involved the forming provinces to be ruled by separate governors, who reported back to Emperor in the capital city. He also ruled under Confucianism, which lasted for 2,000 years along with the improved education system. And by the 2nd century AD, the population of China had reached 58 million. The later Han continued on fighting throughout their neighboring countries, such as Turkestan, to expand their boundaries. In 94 AD, 50 messengers also came from Central Asia to China. In 57 AD and 107 AD, China received another group of messengers from Japan. Then in 222 AD, Emperor Marcus Aurelius Antonius from Andon arrived in China, bringing new connections between China and Rome. Due to this, today, Han Chinese make up 92% of China's 1.2 billion people. Of course, in such a large dynasty, anyone would expect that there were many problems accommodated with the dynasty. This is true. I have just summarized a few of the major problems in the Han Dynasty. The first problem appeared in the start. In the first 50 years of the Han Dynasty, a group of vassals under the feudal systems were rebelling. Only Emperor Wu managed to defeat the vassals. Throughout Emperor Wu's reign, a problem with the land distribution arose. Large landowners profited whilst the others were forced to sell their family members into slavery. The second was the Xin Dynasty. The Han Dynasty was shortly interrupted by the Xin Dynasty as the last emperor Yuan Ti was influenced by his widow who attempted to appoint family members to the throne. In the end, she did succeed with her nephew Wang Mang, who then became emperor in 9 AD, leading into the Xin Dynasty. The reason Wang Mang became emperor is because he detected the weak spot in the Han Dynasty, which was the land distribution, and focused on directing his promises to this weak spot. Wang Mang was eventually killed in an uprising due to his failure in making his promises come true in 22 AD. In 23 AD, Kang Wu Ti, with his group, the Red Eyebrows, recreated the Han Dynasty, also named the Later Han Restoration. The 2-year Civil War. In order to restore the Han Dynasty, a 2-year-long civil war erupted where competing rebel groups fought for the throne, 20 AD to 22 AD. The Yellow River floods accompanied the rebellion in 11 AD, which had caused mass migrations. Throughout this war, many of the Westerners' imperial tombs, as well as the Chang'an, were robbed and brutally damaged. Due to these damages, the capital was moved to Luoyang. The Mongols. Throughout the early Han Dynasty, the Mongols created constant threats to the Han community. Due to this, the Han emperors constantly offered their princesses to the Mongols in order to maintain the peace. In 133 BC, a battle arose amongst the two, killing over 100,000 Hans. The Yellow Turban Rebellion, 184 AD. In the Yellow Turban Rebellion, the peasants arose due to the large landowners exploiting the labor, which was coming in from the south to obtain large fortunes. There were also high taxes, which had been created to extend the Silk Road. Due to these problems, large landowners, landless peasants, and unemployed soldiers formed private armies which rose against the weakened Han government. Now, the final collapse of the Han Dynasty. From the Yellow Turban Rebellion, the government was weakened. The emperors could not deal with the growing population, growing wealth, and financial as well as political issues. There was too big of a gap between the poor and rich, and too many mistakes were committed by the emperors of the Han Dynasty. The end of the Han Dynasty refers to 189 to 220 AD. In this period, Han's last ruler, Emperor Xian, was defeated. Firstly, the warlord Dong Zhuo destroyed the Han's empire institutions. Dong Zhuo then fractured these institutions into regional regimes, which were ruled by various warlords. Finally, one of these warlords, Cao Cao, attempted to unify the Han Empire once again. These attempts were destroyed at the Battle of Red Cliffs in 208 to 209 AD against the allied forces of Zhang Quan and Liu Bai. The end of the Han Dynasty occurred in 220 AD when Cao Pi pressured Emperor Xian into renouncing in his favor. Cao Pi then became emperor of a new state called Cao Wei. 1 year later, Liu Bai created another new state under the name of Shu Han, declaring himself emperor of this state, and San Quan declared himself emperor of Eastern Wu. These kingdoms were then named the Three Kingdoms.